Go, Carter. You should be the first one. Go, 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 go.
You can't get too close.
Now let his kids go. Where's daughter?
Val, New York, New York.
Yes, sir.
Fresh out the can.
Damn.
Off of 18 stretch.
Damn.
They gave me 7 and 5.
Speed when he gets
Nah,
out.
Max B.
Okay.
Max, out of here. People don't play with me with that conversation. Ain't nobody can tell me nothing about that. That's the first thing I say. You heard?
Okay.
That's how you feel. That end the deal for anybody. There ain't no Max talking about conversation.
Max B stepping back into the world after around 16 years is wild enough, but the energy around him right now is even wilder. He fought case after case, held it together, and somehow kept his spirit alive the whole time. Now the wave is officially back, and the whole culture felt it the moment he touched down. But the return ain't smooth for everybody.
How you feel? How you
I
feeling
feel righteous.
Damn.
Feeling good.
Feeling good,
I know
feeling
what it
good.
is. I'm grateful.
Okay.
I'm thankful.
Love that, love
God
that.
is good.
Word on the street is that Jim Jones might not be thrilled about this comeback, and Max popping back out has people digging up all that old tension again. The trolling online is heavy, and a lot of it is getting pushed straight at Jim. Max has only been home a few days, but it feels like he never left. Everywhere you scroll, there he is. One second he's trying on new chains, next he's popping out at a birthday function, then he's in the club.
That's an A-lister.
Okay.
Anybody that got a sack, balls, look me up, I'm gonna get you right.
Then he's at a Jets game like it's nothing. It's like a camera is glued to him every step of the way. This ain't no quiet slide back into life moment. Max jumped right back into the spotlight, and the crowd is loving every minute of it. Folks have waited over a decade to see the wave in motion again, so it makes perfect sense that he's moving loud, flashing confidence, and shaking up the scene the moment he got back out. Max even popped a big question to his girlfriend just a day after touching down, and that alone had the internet buzzing. But a comeback this loud always drags some drama behind it. Old tension, old stories, folks whispering, folks choosing sides, all of that
Max B.
Okay.
Max, suck dick. Fuck out of here.
All right. Okay.
came crashing back in. And the biggest storm hitting the timeline right now is his long-running situation with Jim Jones. Jim has spent years trying to keep his name far away from anything tied to Max. He said in multiple interviews that he doesn't want to speak on him, doesn't want anything to do with him, just wants that whole chapter closed. In one interview, he even said, "That's Max B," then later claimed he might forgive one day, but he will never forget. That made it clear that door was locked tight. But the second Max came home and started moving around again, everybody knew Jim's name was going to get pulled back into the mix. And the person who kicked it all off wasn't even Max. It was 50 Cent, of course. Nobody was shocked either, because 50 and Jim got their own long-standing tension. So the moment Max touched down, 50 jumped straight on Instagram and turned the whole internet upside down. He posted a meme from Belly showing the character Rico eating a banana, labeling him as Jim Jones, basically hinting he was out here telling on folks. The trolling was loud. Then 50 dropped a caption in his classic style, something like, "Homie said Max home, it's packed in Harlem. Jimmy about to drop a dime on these dudes, LOL." And to make it even messier, he added a clip of Max B on FaceTime with DJ Who Kid. After that, the whole internet joined in. Bloggers, hip-hop pages, fans. Everybody had something to say. For anyone who wasn't around back then, the situation between Jim Jones and Max B was way deeper than a normal rap disagreement. This was personal, rough, and tangled up in real history. In the mid-2000s, they were moving like family, recording non-stop, hanging out everywhere, rolling through Harlem side by side like a tight unit. But long before the fame and the spotlight, Max had already been through a heavy life. He came home in 2005 after serving 8 years, and when he stepped out, he reinvented himself as Max Begavel, a name he built by blending icons like Biggie, Machiavelli, Tupac, and Jigga. The second Max landed back in Harlem, the whole scene was buzzing. This was the era when the Diplomats ran the city. Cameron, Jules Santana, and Jim Jones had Harlem locked down, dropping tracks that shaped the whole culture. Through Cameron, Max linked with Jim, and the chemistry clicked instantly. Jim signed him to Bird Gang and connected him with Harlem legend Dame Grease, and from there, everything moved fast. By 2006, Max dropped his first mixtape, $1 Million Baby, and the streets couldn't get enough of it. His raspy melodies, that wild confidence, and that one-of-a-kind wavy sound made him stand out like nobody else in the game. Bird Gang also had another rising talent.
And when this woman, Gina Marie Conway, a prostitute who'd been with Plowden, told her boyfriend Charlie Wingate, aka Max B, a rapper, about the men's money.
stack bundles, and with both Max B and Stack beside him, Jim Jones had a powerhouse team in his hands. Max was the hidden force behind the hooks and melodies that made Jim's tracks explode, and songs like Baby Girl turned into straight-up neighborhood classics. People started talking like Max was the real creative force behind Jim's whole new wave, and that's when the tension really kicked in. As Max's name got bigger, his street instincts kicked up too, and those instincts eventually pulled him into a situation that changed everything for him. Around that time, he was dealing with his ex, Gina Conway, and she started telling him about a flashy dude she knew named Alan J. Plowden, a guy living fast, pushing a mortgage and mail hustle, driving luxury cars, and showing cash like it was unlimited. According to Gina, Max couldn't let the opportunity slide, so he figured they could run a quick hit. The plan sounded simple: pull up to Plowden's hotel room, grab whatever he had sitting around, and dip without problems. Gina claimed Max
Fort Lee Holiday Inn. Police are called there after a man is shot to death. The victim, David Taylor from Florida, was staying in room 227.
was the one hyping the idea, telling her they'd level up if she helped. But the whole thing went sideways fast. Gina and Max's stepbrother, Kelvin Sims, aka Leardam, were the ones who actually went to carry it out. They were supposed to get inside while Plowden was out partying, but nothing went smooth. They got lost, missed exits, and wasted hours riding around. By the time they finally hit the hotel in Fort Lee, Plowden was already back, asleep with another woman in the room. Then things took an even darker twist. Another man, David Taylor, walked in out of nowhere. Someone who wasn't supposed to be involved at all. Sims freaked out, pulled out a weapon, and fired, turning what was meant to be a quick grab and go into a major legal case overnight. After that night, everything fell apart fast. Gina was the first one picked up, and when the pressure hit, she broke immediately. She handed over a 169-page statement to investigators, laying out every detail and pointing straight at Max, saying he was the mastermind who pushed the whole plan. She claimed he promised her the world, and the moment things went wrong, she gave up the entire story to protect herself. Once the investigators had her statement, they came after Max with force. He got hit with major charges, including a serious felony count, even though he wasn't at the scene. His bail was set at a wild $2 million, and just like that, the rising star of Harlem's wave movement was staring at the possibility of spending the rest of his life locked away. While Max sat in that cold cell, everything around him froze. But outside, the world kept spinning, and the very man he once rolled with like a brother, Jim Jones, was suddenly everywhere, taking over the charts. Jim had just dropped We Fly High, Ball In, and the record blew up worldwide. It became his biggest hit ever, the track that officially pushed him into solo star territory. Everybody was yelling the hook, the clubs were blasting it, and Jim was doing interviews, counting money, living his best moment. But inside that cell, Max was hearing a whole different version of the story. He claimed he was the one who wrote We Fly High. According to Max, he ghost wrote that track.
Songs already. How you think he got so hot? Came out with all them tapes. I did that. I put them hooks together. I made the credit. I made the hooks. I made the melodies. Yeah. I made the shit, dog. I'm the man.
And a bunch of Jim's big records, the hooks, the melodies, the ad-libs, all from his creative mind. And while Jim was on TV celebrating success and sipping bottles, Max was stuck behind bars, watching another man shine off the sound he said he created. Max had helped build a whole sound, but he was trapped behind bars watching it slip away. After 10 long months waiting, he finally caught a break. His bail got dropped to $90,000 and freedom was finally in sight. But he needed help, and this is where everything turned messy fast. Word in Harlem was that Jim stepped in, not out of loyalty, but business. People said Jim offered to help post Max's bail only if Max signed over his publishing and agreed to drop 6 full albums under Bird Gang. It was a lifeline wrapped in a contract that boxed Max in. Locked up and desperate, he didn't have many options. So he signed. Jim walked away with full control of Max's publishing, and Max walked out with temporary freedom. But his future now belonged to someone he once trusted. When Max stepped out in July 2007, he wasn't the same man. Prison sharpened him, made him colder, more focused. The smile was there, but behind it was pain, frustration, and resentment. He was broke, felt betrayed, and stuck in a deal that took everything he built. But as his name started rising again, Max came to a decision. If Jim wasn't going to give him his proper respect, the quiet act was over. He was ready for a full-on battle. And when Max said he was ready for war, he meant it with his chest. This wasn't just about getting credit. It was about getting back his identity, his respect, and his ownership. Max walked away from Bird Gang and started plotting his next moves. If Jim was going to profit off his talent, Max was going to make sure everyone knew the truth loud and clear. Nothing was off limits now. That's when French Montana came into the picture. Back then, French wasn't the hitmaker the world knows today. He was a street figure heavy in the scene with his Cocaine City DVD series, showing raw Bronx life. French already had his own issues with Jim tied to an old violent incident that left bad energy and rumors floating around. So when Max and French linked up, it wasn't just about music, it was about payback, alignment, and shaking the whole scene up together. When Max linked with French, they created K-Wave, and it became more than just a crew. It turned into a movement. They were the underdogs shaking up the industry from the ground up, and they weren't scared of anything. Max didn't have the big labels backing him, but he had something stronger: the streets. So he started flooding the scene with mixtapes, dropping tracks for free, and making sure his voice couldn't be muted by anyone. But Max didn't stop at music. He turned his feud with Jim Jones into full-blown entertainment. Every interview, every song, every appearance came with sharp shots thrown straight at Jim.
Ram it up his ass. Pause. Ram the boom, I hit his so he all the my car. My window was there, he tried to grab me. So when he came in the window, I punched him in the face.
One of the first heavy hits came with his mixtape Public Domain 3. The cover alone shook Harlem. Max standing in a graveyard next to tombstones labeled Millie, Jim Jones, and Vanilli, calling them out as fake, just like the lip-syncing duo Milli Vanilli. Then Max dropped bars like, "I know them dudes need me. I was giving them the loot, but them dudes done blew it." He wanted the world to know he built that sound, and he believed that without him, the whole movement was lost. Harlem started buzzing. Jim had the mainstream fame, but Max had the streets behind him. But Max pushed things even further. He started going after reputations, and that's when the feud hit a whole new level. One of the wildest moments was when he released She Touched It in Miami, a track that wasn't just a diss, it was meant to shake the room. On the song, Max claimed Jim's longtime partner, Chrissy Lampkin, had been involved with him during a trip to Miami. Instead of graphic details, Max kept it messy and disrespectful with claims she had been with him in Miami, hinting at a situation he said Jim wasn't ready to hear. Max even laughed about it publicly, calling Jim emotional and saying he couldn't handle what he called the truth. It was pure chaos. Jim, on the other hand, was blindsided. He didn't expect Max to go public and go this hard. At first, he tried to play calm, brushing off the claims and acting like Max wasn't as important as the streets were making him out to be. Jim started hitting interviews saying Max was just a bitter, washed-up rapper who never made it, acting like Max was just another guy who couldn't handle the industry heat. He even denied Max had anything to do with We Fly High, insisting he wrote his own biggest hit. But the streets weren't buying any of that. Folks had already heard the old reference tracks floating around, and Max's voice was clear as day on them. Little by little, the conversation started shifting. People began questioning how much of Jim's success, even during the Dipset era, came from his own talent versus the people around him. And while all that was being debated online and in
Where Ivy at? They didn't know we was out this early.
barbershops, Max wasn't backing down at all. He moved like someone ready for any kind of pressure. Max began saying the feud wasn't just music, it was personal. He claimed there was a moment where Jim tried to run up on him in a parking lot, blocking his car with a Bentley. According to Max, he saw it coming, hit the gas, pushed past the car, and even got a few hits in before pulling off. The story spread fast. French Montana and others close to Max backed his version of events, and the whole tale turned into street legend. The tension had gone way beyond diss tracks. It was now a full-on saga that everybody was watching. Then November 2008 hit, and things took another jump. Max and French decided they weren't just going to talk anymore. They were going to show up. They rolled deep into Manhattan and headed straight into a studio building where Jim was recording, planning to make a statement loud and clear that they weren't scared and they weren't hiding from anything. It was a moment that had the whole city buzzing. Max later claimed that when Jim realized what was going down that day, he called the police. And whether it was true or not, that rumor alone shook Jim's image in the streets. Being labeled as someone who dialed authorities during a feud was the worst kind of stain in that world, and people didn't forget it. Not long after, the two camps crossed paths again at a club in Brooklyn, and the whole scene turned chaotic. Chairs flying, bottles cracking, security rushing in, and officers with canines storming the place trying to calm it down. When everything finally settled, one thing was clear. Max wasn't just feuding with Jim anymore. He had flipped the entire script. He turned Jim into a running joke, someone people poked fun at, while Max became a cult figure, a street legend who didn't need a big label or corporate push to keep his name alive. But just as his music was reaching new ears, the legal trouble from that old hotel situation finally caught up to him again. When the verdict came down, it was crushing. Max was hit with a 75-year sentence. The whole hip-hop world froze. Fans couldn't believe it. It felt like the wave got wiped out before it had the chance to reach the shore. And while people on the outside were hurting for him, it looked like Jim Jones was quietly smiling. From his angle, it probably felt like the perfect business win. Max was locked away, his voice was gone, and Jim still held the publishing rights to the music Max helped create. Jim thought the battle was over. But in May 2010, the tables turned again. A judge ruled that Jim Jones no longer had control over Max's career. The court said Max had already completed the terms of his old contracts from 2005 and 2007, which meant he was finally free from Jim's grip. Then the biggest shock came a few years later. Max's massive 75-year sentence got reduced to 20 and then cut down again to 12. It was the kind of turnaround nobody saw coming, and it set the stage for a comeback people never thought they'd witness. Slowly but surely, Max started seeing daylight again, and now after all those years, the man who built a whole wave from a jail cell is finally back home. But even with his release, the internet couldn't stay quiet. The moment people heard he was close to coming out, the usual noise popped up again. Like always, the timeline lit up with snitching talk. The same kind of rumors that show up anytime a rapper beats a heavy sentence. And this time, the loudest voice pushing it was Wack 100. According to Wack, he claimed he had paperwork that showed Max cooperated with authorities while locked up. In an interview with Vlad TV, he said he had documents proving Max met with officials and shared info that helped shrink his original 80-year sentence. Wack also claimed Max gave details about a woman tied to the case, even telling investigators where she worked, and that this supposedly played a role in the sentence getting reduced. Wack also claimed he talked to people close to Max who confirmed the story, and even said there was video proof out there that could hurt Max if it ever surfaced. But the issue is simple. Nobody outside of Wack 100 has ever seen this supposed paperwork. And even he admitted he doesn't actually know Max or have any real history with him. That's why most people saw it as what it was. Somebody trying to get attention off another man's name. Fans rushed in fast to defend Max, calling Wack's claims straight clout-chasing nonsense. And honestly, most folks didn't care about any of that. They were just happy to see Max free, smiling, and getting his life back. Now that Max B is officially home, the big question is, what's next? Will he jump back into music? And will the new generation embrace him the same way the old heads did? The game changed a lot while he was gone, but the streets never forget their legends. For now, Max is enjoying his freedom, soaking up love, reconnecting with people, and feeling the energy that's been waiting on him for years. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and drop a comment, and I'll see you in the next one.